Tonight's invocation is being offered by Councilman Lionel Matthews.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. If we could all bow our heads. Father in heaven, thank you for your patience, for your kindness, for your mercy, and for your grace. Bless all that gather here tonight, Father, to take care of the city's business. Bless our leadership, Father. Bless our Vice Mayor. Bless our Mayor. Bless our council members. Bless our President. Bless our Congress, Father. Bless our Governor. And bless our state legislators. Father, we ask a special blessing upon our council attorney, John Cooper, who is recovering well, and we want to continue to keep him and his family in our prayers. Bless them as they go through a time of healing, that you will bring them through. Father, bless the business that we take care of tonight, that we may do your will and not our own will. We may not lean unto our own understanding, but to your understanding, and that we may do what's right for the people that we serve each and every day. These and other prayers we ask in your most precious name. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Without objection, we'll suspend the calling of the roll and ask the clerk to record the names of the members present throughout the meeting. Is there a motion to adopt the minutes of our meeting of May 17th? Without objection, the minutes of the meeting will stand approved. Madam Clerk, are there any messages from the mayor?
No, ma'am, there are not.
Thank you. We're now at the point on our agenda for presentations. Councilman McGuire and Councilman Tigert.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. This is a resolution recognizing David Lipscomb High School in my district and the men and women who came to the aid of Coach Joey Spann. Whereas on Friday, February 25th, 2011, during the Region 5AA quarterfinal game at David Lipscomb, girls basketball coach Joey Spann went into cardiac arrest. And whereas the quick response and composure in knowing exactly what to do, Andrea Honeycutt, Angel Carter, wife of Lipscomb assistant coach David Carter, Annette Brewer, Sharon Crocker, Dr. Robert D. Pilkington, and athletic trainers Chris Snoddy from Good Pasture and Ken Tyler from Lipscomb provided life-saving medical services to Coach Spann. And whereas access to quality emergency care dramatically improves the survival and recovery rate of those who experience a life-threatening event, as proven by the recovery of Coach Spann. And whereas David Lipscomb High School's emergency preparedness plan was put to use by having an automated external defibrillator, or AED, accessible for emergency medical situations. Since then, the school has obtained 5 additional AEDs that are placed throughout the school. And whereas it is fitting and proper that the Metropolitan Council recognizes the life-saving efforts put forth of those who came to the aid of Coach Joey Spann and acknowledge David Lipscomb High School for having the proper medical tool, the AED, available. Now therefore be it resolved by the Council of the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County. Section 1, the Metropolitan Council hereby goes on record as recognizing David Lipscomb High School and the men and women who came to the aid of Coach Joey Spann. Section 2, the Metropolitan Council Office is directed to prepare a copy of this resolution to be presented to the nurses, doctors, trainers, and to the David Lipscomb High School for saving the life of Good Pasture Coach Joey Spann. In Section 3, this resolution shall take effect from and after its adoption, the welfare of the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County, requiring it, sponsored by myself and Councilman Charlie Tigert.
Coach Spann. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to introduce a walking, living, breathing miracle, and standing right before us here. Coach Spann is one of the finest Christian gentlemen. He is a great basketball coach. He has won state championships at every school that he's been at, and I'm sure the one forthcoming at Good Pasture. When I talked to him this morning, He was at Middle Tennessee State University at girls basketball camp, and I said, Coach Spann, I need you to concentrate just a second to tell you what's going on tonight. And I heard basketballs and screaming and cheering and balls and horns and everything that you'd associate with the basketball game going on. And I heard him at the same time that he was trying to listen to me. He said, she cut to the basket too quick. We need to work on that. So that tells you a little bit about the capabilities of this young man, and I just it's incredible when a school like Lipscomb and Goodpasture, it was fate on that night that when Coach Spann walked out of halftime and collapsed, that these young ladies, Dr. Pilkington, Mike Roller, the principal of Lipscomb, had all of his people prepared for this emergency. So let me introduce, with no further ado, Coach Joey Spann.
Thank you. Dr. Pilkington let me know that what happened to me was a miracle. One of the first things he said to me later on, because I don't remember actually what took place. We were ahead when I went down. I remember that. We ended up losing the game, but we were ahead when I went down. And Dr. Pilkington told me it was a miracle, and I've taken it as such. I think God's hand was upon it, and very appreciative to Lipscomb. I've always considered them my brothers in Christ and my enemies in basketball, and I now am drawn closer to them. But I am very appreciative to you and to Charlie, who's also been an official, a referee for a long time, and I've yelled at him many a time. But I appreciate so very much you recognize this. And if it weren't for these people right here, I would be in heaven right now. So I don't know if I'm grateful or not to them, but I am grateful to them. Thank you.
Councilman Stein and Councilman Claiborne.
Thank you. Members of the council, we rise to honor Sandra Duncan this evening. Sandra, will you come forward? There are few of our honorees that actually travel with as large an entourage of friends as co-workers as Ms. Duncan has brought with her this evening. These folks are united by three things. They're united by their love of their arts, their desire to get more money out of us, and their great respect for Sandra Duncan. This resolution recognizes and honors Sandra Duncan for her many years of dedicated service to our state and city. Whereas Sandra Duncan has been an outstanding employee of the Metro Nashville Arts Commission for the last 15 years, and whereas during her tenure on the commission, which includes a stint as interim director, Sandra has been a driving force in establishing and leading Nashville's public art program. And whereas her role in the public art program includes leadership in the passage of both state enabling legislation and the Metro Percent for Art Ordinance in 2000, as well as the creation of the Ghost Ballet and the Citizen Public Art Projects. And whereas both projects have received national accolades and helped create a new era of neighborhood public art and a highly popular bike rack program. And whereas Ms. Duncan's work is nationally recognized through her longtime participation in the National Americans for the Arts and the Public Art Network, including leading the 2002 National Conference, which was held here in Nashville. Whereas, prior to joining the commission, Sandra served as Special Assistant for Community Affairs under then Mayor Phil Bredesen and as Assistant State Tourism Commissioner for Marketing and Promotion, where she established Tennessee's first cultural tourism program. Whereas Ms. Duncan is also a Phi Beta Kappa graduate of the University of Tennessee, an active member of both the Greenways for Nashville Board and Leadership Nashville Alumni, it's therefore fitting that this council congratulate her on her retirement and wish her all the best in her future endeavors. Therefore, be it resolved that this council go on record as recognizing and honoring Sandra Duncan for her many years of dedicated service to our state and city, and recognize her for her many outstanding contribution to the promotion of the arts throughout our entire community. Sandra, thank you for all you've done. You are welcome.
Thank you all. I have deeply loved and enjoyed working as a public servant. I consider it a privilege, and I'm especially honored that these civic leaders are recognizing me in this nice way. I admire all of you, and I appreciate the fact that you all work every day to make the city better, and thank you.
Thank you so much. You're welcome. Thank you. I'll give it to you very soon. Thank you. Thank you.
Duty calls.
Elections and confirmations. Councilmember Adkins.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. The Rules and Confirmations Committee met and considered the Emergency Communications District Board, and I'm just going to do these three nominees together. The reappointment of Mrs. Cleo Duckworth, the reappointment of Mr. William Johnson, and the reappointment of Eliud Trevino, and the committee approved 9 for, none against, and I move their approval.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes.
Next was the Fire and Building Code Appeals Board, the reappointment of Mr. Michael Burden, and it was deferred one meeting. Also, the Nashville Education Community and Arts Television Corporation, the reappointment of Mr. Joel Sullivan. The committee approved 9 for, none against, and I move his approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes.
Next, on the Plumbing Examiners and Appeals Board, the reappointment of Mr. Edward Galbraith was deferred one meeting, but the reappointment of Mr. Nathaniel Odom, the committee approved 9 for, none against, and I move his approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes.
Next is the Public Library Board, the reappointment of Miss Margaret Ann Robinson. The committee approved 9 for, none against. But before I move that motion, Miss Donna Nicely, the library director, is retiring, as you all know, and I just wanted to give a shout out to her. She's in the audience. We're going to miss her greatly. I guess that was out of order. Sorry, Vice Mayor.
It was perfectly okay.
But the committee approved Miss Margaret Ann Robinson 9 for, none against, and I move for approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. Councilman.
Yeah, I don't have any library fines. So, but next is the Stormwater Management Committee, the reappointment of Miss Elaine Bright. The committee approved 9 for, none against, and I move her approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes.
That concluded our business. Thank you.
When I call your name, please stand. Cleo Duckworth, William Johnson, Eliud Trevino, Joel Sullivan, Nathaniel Odom, Margaret Ann Robinson, and Elaine Bright. On behalf of the Metro Council, thank you for your willingness to serve our city. Councilman Adkins, you are recognized.
Again? Uh-oh, for what? That concluded our business. Do I have anything else?
Motion for the adjourned meeting.
Oh, excuse me. I move that we adjourn the meeting.
I believe your motion is that when we adjourn this meeting, the council will adjourn to Tuesday, June 14th at 6 p.m. for the purpose of considering ordinance BL 2011-921, the capital improvements budget for fiscal year 1220 on third and final reading, along with any other matters that the vice mayor deems appropriate for consideration at that time.
That was exactly my motion.
Okay. Is there a second?
I missed the memo.
All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. We're now at bills on public hearing. The first one is BL 2011-913, adopts the operating budget of the Metropolitan Government for fiscal year 2011-2012. Councilmember Berry.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. The Budget and Finance Committee met and approved 7-4-0 against, and would like to re-refer this back to Budget and Finance, and I'd also like to open the public hearing.
Okay. Could I see a show of hands of those in support of the operating budget? Thank you. Anyone in opposition to the operating budget, please raise your hand. Anyone wishing to speak in support, please line up at the lectern. Need to state your name and address.
Good evening. My name is Camila Ajamu, and I live at 2712 Tucker Road in Nashville, and the zip code is 37218. And I'm speaking on behalf of Act Like a Girl, and I would like to thank the Metro Council for your support of the arts, because it helps to fund programs like Act Like a Girl, and it helps me to be, specifically, to be more outspoken and to be more sure of the career path that I'm choosing to go on, and I'm choosing a career in women's health. And thank you again for your support of the the Arts Commission.
Thank you.
My name is Evie Davis, and I live at 1234 Jefferson Davis Drive. And I am here to ask you all to consider a question. Why should you be concerned and supportive of the arts in Nashville? As I talk, please consider your answer as you hear mine. I've grown up here in Nashville, and it's a great place to grow up. As I've grown up, I've gone to performances at TPAC, the Nashville Ballet, the Nashville Children's Theater, where I not only see shows, but I participate in their camps and classes. And I've also seen all kinds of productions at Belmont University, where my parents teach, so I'm kind of required to go, but I love it anyway. And I've been taught the arts my whole life. In elementary school, I went to music and art class. In middle school at Meg's Magnet, I was part of our school choir, and then in 8th grade, I was part of our 8th grade drama class. And now in high school, I'm also part of our school choir, and I'm looking forward to being part of our school musicals. The arts have helped me understand people. When I'm acting, I have to understand my character. And when I'm singing, I'm vocalizing the emotions running through my character's head at that exact moment. Or when I'm looking at somebody's painting or a picture they've drawn, I can see what they were thinking and feeling at that exact moment. To create the arts effectively, you have to be able to get into someone else's skin and walk around in it. But it's not all about me. What can be learned from the arts is important for all you guys too. It's important in day-to-day life. In fact, in the big picture of the world, I really can't think of anything more important in the democracy that we live in than understanding each other. Learning to walk around in somebody else's skin is extremely important. And the arts help you understand people. And understanding is kind of like a key to life. Thank you.
Thank you. Order, please.
Good evening. Paula Roberts, 903 Coursey Drive, Nashville 37217. You've heard very compelling testimony from two young people. to future leaders of our community about the impact arts is having on their lives and their peers through education and involvement in the arts. Personally, these stories remind me why my service on the Metro Arts Commission is so important and why the Commission's mission is vital to our quality of life in Nashville. As members of the Metro Council, you also play a vital role in the arts mission with your support, including approving funding for the Arts Commission's grant programs that countless organizations rely on each year for their magnificent arts programs. In terms of economic development, investing in the Metro Arts Commission is a boost for business, and the return on investment benefits all of us. Arts are big business, and the benefits allow for increased job creation, increased tax revenue, and greater opportunities for economic recruitment, business expansion, and tourism development. And as we all know, these are important indicators for economic vitality in our region. Quickly, I want to share 3 studies with you. First, an analysis prepared for the Metro Arts Coalition, measuring the years 2007 and 2008, found that the Nashville MSA had the 4th highest cultural vitality index value in the nation, trailing only Washington, D.C., Los Angeles, and New York, which makes Nashville the top creative city for its size in the nation, with nearly 25,000 people employed in the arts. Second, arts are a critical magnet to attract and maintain businesses and professionals. The Nashville Area Chamber reports that businesses considering relocation typically have quality and diversity of arts in their top 10 deciding factors. Finally, in the Americans for the Arts publication, Arts in the Economy 3, arts and culture are magnets for tourists and their money. In fact, arts and culture tourists spend more and travel longer than other visitors because trips are extended to attend cultural events. There is no question that your investment in the Arts Commission is a direct investment in the quality of Nashville arts. And as studies prove, the quality of culturally diverse arts are a key contributor to attracting robust investments into our community. So thank you, Council, for your historic support for the arts, and I encourage your approval once again for full funding of the Metro Nashville Arts Commission grant programs. Thank you.
Thank you. Order, please.
Forgive me, Kirk Davis, 3831 West End Avenue. I'm here on behalf of our public transportation services, which I want to thank the city for allowing us to have public transportation so we can get around and help ourselves, especially with the gas hikes that are today, MTA, Access Ride. We've been able to help others throughout the years as these gas hikes come up, especially those with the disabilities that cannot drive cars such as I. And really appreciate the city does allow public transportation and encourage to continue to provide for the transportation service.
Thank you. Seeing no one else wishing to speak in support, anyone in opposition wishing to speak, please line up at the lectern.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Doug Collier, I'm just asking for a point of clarification. Are each one of these resolutions going to be open for discussion, or can we talk on them at this time?
We only have 2 bills on public hearing tonight, and so you need to speak at this time.
Okay. 2 of the resolutions that I want to specifically refer to them. Again, my name is Doug Collier, and I'm the president of SEIU Local 205. And I live at 709 Candy Apple Cove in Antioch. I want to specifically address resolutions 2011-1673 and 2011-1675. These resolutions cap the lump sum and payroll adjustments at $1,500 based upon the 1.5% calculation of wages. Low and middle wage workers pay the same price for gas and the same price for groceries at the store as the high wage earners. There is no justification for treating workers differently in this city when paying a one-time bonus. Therefore, I'm requesting the council consider an amendment that treats everyone the same. Pay all the workers the $1,500 across the board as a one-time lump sum this year, or if the monies are not available to do the entire $1,500, I ask that amendment be added to take the total dollars already allocated for the lump sum and divide it equally among all that qualify under these 2 resolutions. The other amendment I would ask the council to add is to Resolution 2011-1673, which asks this council to exclude workers in the Board of Education. I am requesting the amendment to read, excluding Board of Education except the 400 support workers that have not gotten any kind of increase in the last 4 years. These workers are among the longest serving public workers in the system, and the Board of Education has not given them any step increase, any bonus, any longevity, or any cost of living in 4 years. This council has the power to see these long-term support workers are treated fairly and receive the same one-time lump sum bonus. I respectfully request these two amendments be added to Resolutions 2011-1673 and 2011-1675. Thank you, Vice Mayor.
Thank you.
My name is Bruce Wood. I live at 1285 4th Avenue South, and I'm the elected president of BURNT, a Nashville-based environmental group. My several points of which I've submitted in writing is, first, I'd just like to reiterate how much we appreciate the Metro Council. We've been coming down here for 22 years, and issue after issue, you're an open forum that if we're here, that helps us with the bureaucracy and the agency. So we need to acknowledge that. Also like to say to also acknowledge that the 40-member city council is basically a throwback to the Metro government deal that merged the city and the council. You need staff. I think that under a $1.67 billion budget, $250,000 for an executive director and a researcher is very suitable and that would protect the people of your district. That would improve the quality of our government. Possibly a smaller Metro Council. I'd like to say that we said possibly. I'd like to also throw in, I spoke with both of the retiring executives from Metro government and offered them to be the executive director of BURNT. Had no nibbles there. I would like to say that we work on solid waste. That's a major issue for us, and time after time we're frustrated by just false figures, the false solid waste figures. And here's an account right here on the back of what we gave you. It's on our website, a complaint that we filed with the U.S. EPA against the state of Tennessee. For 3 years in a row, we've had hearings in front of the state on Metro Solid Waste Board on the day those reports are due. So we're stymied. We can't have any impact. I will say environmental injustice reigns in Nashville. We have a third world rate of infant mortality. Look at the education. And that's happening in one area of Nashville, and that hurts our economic performance. It costs us money. This is something, I've made calls, what has happened to Metro Water, combination of sewer, business waste and human waste, to then combine that. That was talked about quite a bit. It hasn't been talked about recently. I called them up to find out if they started up and have yet to get any answers. I'd like to say I think every agency should have a pie chart that says how much they're spending and what portion of that is the Metro budget on their website. And my final point is that I very much appreciate the opportunity to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no one else wishing to speak, I declare the public hearing closed. Councilmember Berry.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. With that, I would move to approve and re-refer this back to the Budget and Finance Committee.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. Next is BL 2011-921, adopts the capital improvements budget and program for 2011-2012 through 2016 and 2017. Councilmember Berry.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Committee reports.
Councilman Gatto.
Excuse me, Planning and Zoning approved 8-4-0 against.
Thank you. Councilmember Berry.
Budget and Finance voted to approve 7-4-0 against and re-refer back to Budget and Finance, and I'd like to open the public hearing.
Please raise your hand if you're in support of the capital improvements budget. Thank you. Raise your hand if you're in opposition. Seeing no one in opposition, does anyone in support wish to speak? Please come to the lectern.
Good evening. My name is Cliff Lippard, and I live at 188 Bonneville Drive, Hermitage, Tennessee. I'm here tonight on behalf of Transit Now Nashville. We're a local grassroots nonprofit organization that supports and advocates for better and more transit options and for educating the public on the benefits of public transportation. We just want to encourage your support for the transportation components of the CIB. We've been encouraged by the efforts of this council, the mayor, and MTA in recent years, and seen a lot of important improvements to our public transportation system, but there's still a lot of work to be done. As you know, good public transportation is necessary for economic development and quality of life. And again, we thank you for your support and encourage your continued support.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Adam Nicholson at 3609 Pilcher Avenue. I'm also speaking in favor of the mass transit details of this plan. I got a few figures here. Some of them are from a few years back, but if you would hear some of these. Nashville's #1 in the country for air pollution from vehicles, 3rd for most miles driven in the country per capita. We have an F grade for the air quality from the American Lung Association. That's from 2004 Public Interest Research Group. We have the 6th worst carbon footprint in the country. That's from the Nashville Business Journal. We have the highest incidence of respiratory infection. 3rd most expensive city to drive, according to Sperling's Best Places. 4th most accident-prone city, in large part due to driving, and that's from WGN Radio reported that. And it's more recent figures that came out. CEOs for cities said that we're the worst traffic congested city in the country. And there's another Brookings Institute report that came out recently concerning these pretty dismal circumstances of the traffic and all. So please support mass transit. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no one else wishing to speak, I declare the public hearing closed. Councilmember Berry.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I would like to move approval and re-refer back to the Budget and Finance Committee.
Have a motion and a second. Councilman Gatto.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. I just wanted to rise and make sure that the folks that are listening and that are here in the audience understand that this is, while this says this is the capital improvements budget, it is not the spending plan. And everything that's in this capital improvements budget is not necessarily going to be funded, but it has to be in that list to be able to be funded either this year or in future years. So I just want to make sure everybody understood we're not really passing a spending program here. Thank you.
All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes.
You might say that it is referred to Budget Finance and Planning and Zoning.
I should also note that it's being re-referred not only to Budget and Finance, but also to Planning and Zoning. Next, we have resolutions. The first one is RS 2011-1633, amends the capital improvements budget for fiscal year 2011 to modify the description of the project related to the Lentz Health Center. Councilmember Langster.
Committee reports, please.
I think it's been approved by all committees.
It's withdrawn.
Councilmember Langster, what is your motion?
Move to withdraw, please.
Have a motion and a second. Do I need committee reports? According to what I have in front of me, we have all of them. Okay, we have a motion and a second to withdraw. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The motion to withdraw passes. Next is BRS 2011-1671 authorizes the mayor to submit an amendment to the action plan for the Community Development Block Grant Disaster Recovery Funds to assist with recovery needs as a result of the May floods. Councilmember Berry.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Committee report, please.
Councilman Harrison.
Federal grants approved 4 for and 0 against.
Budget and Finance.
Approved 2-8, 4-0 against. I move approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. Next is RS 2011-1672, appropriates fund from the undesignated fund balance and other sources to various departments to balance their fiscal year 2010-2011 operating budget. Councilmember Berry.
Committee reports, please.
Councilman Toller.
Personnel voted to approve 7 for, 0 against.
Councilmember Wilhoit.
Coles Fair Farmers Market Committee approved 5 for, 0 against.
Councilmember Gilmore.
What is this one for? I'm sorry.
Pardon me?
Okay, I apologize there. Councilor Willow said it for me yesterday. 7 for and 0, 7 for and 0 as to amend is substituted.
On 1672.
Yes, if this is the one we're talking about, is this the one? Council Lady, I'm going to ask Council Lady Will Hoyt because she actually handled it for me yesterday.
I don't have the report in front of me, but
Okay.
1672, if it is an amended, that's not the one that should be on your report. 1672?
That's the one I have here. I do apologize.
There was no amendment with this piece of legislation.
7-0.
You approved,
Okay.
the education approved 7-0?
Yes, that's
Thank
what-
you.
All right.
Budget and Finance.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. We approved 8-4-0 against. I'd like to re-refer that back to Budget and Finance and move for approval.
We have a motion and a second. It will be deferred to track with the budget and re-referred to Budget and Finance.
On 1672, I'm sorry, Vice Mayor.
Mr. Jones.
It's not approved and re-referred? Yes, we approved it and we want to re-refer it back to Budget and Finance.
If you approve it, it cannot be re-referred. It's over. It's adopted. It's one reading.
All right, well then I guess we approved. And I'd like to move for approval.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Councilman Maynard.
Doesn't matter, okay.
Ask Mr. Jones if you were clarified to look at that again. Does it have to be re-referred, if you could clarify that?
Well, obviously, it cannot be re-referred because once we adopt a resolution, it's adopted and it will not go to any committee. The question is, this actually deals with the current fiscal year budget. It's the supplemental appropriation that'll balance the 2011 budget. The rest of these that are being deferred tonight to track the budget are next year's budget. But it doesn't need to be tracking with the budget, but traditionally in the past it has tracked with it, this supplemental. All those financial things at this time of the year, they all run together. But it's the council's pleasure. You do not have to do this one. It is best that the others be deferred because they have a definite budget impact. This does not.
Thank you, Mr. Jones.
Councilmember Wilhoit.
And yes, Vice Mayor, I just want to clarify, there was no amendment to this particular legislation.
Correct.
I know that. That's why I wanted to clarify to the audience. There was no amendment.
Okay, we have a motion to approve and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. We will take 1673, 1674, and 1675 together if there is no objection. Councilman Crafton, are you objecting? Oh, okay. RS 2011-1673 approves an amendment to the pay plan for general employees of metropolitan government. RS 2011-1674 approves an amendment to the pay plan for employees of the Metro Fire and Police Departments. RS 2011-1675 approves an amendment to the pay plan for employees of the Metro Board of Health. Councilmember Berry.
Committee reports, please.
Councilman Toller.
Personnel voted to approve 7 and 0 and refer to track with the budget.
You approved all 3, 7, 0?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Councilmember Langster.
Councilman Foster will handle this public safety tonight for me.
Councilman Foster.
Public Safety voted 7-4-0 against to approve 1674.
Thank you. Councilman Forcum.
Health and Hospitals voted to approve 4-0 for 1675.
Councilmember Berry.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Budget and Finance voted to defer all of them 9-4-0 against to track with the budget.
We have a motion to defer. Is there a second? Discussion on the motion to defer. Councilman Crafton.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Mr. Jones, I just talked to you a minute ago about the idea that was brought forth about taking the total amount that would be available for bonuses and dividing that equally among the employees. And you told me that we could not do an amendment to do that. To have that considered, what needs to be done exactly?
You would have to vote these down to defeat the resolution to do that, because it must originate at the Civil Service Commission. When we consider an amendment to the pay plan or a pay plan, all we can do is vote them up or down, or we're allowed to make an amendment as long as it continues to maintain the same separation of the grades. So you could not go from 1.5% to a lump sum without restrictions with grades.
Is there, I mean, I'd rather the workers get something rather than nothing. Is there enough time to have this go back and try to accomplish this?
There really isn't, because there's some technical requirements, one of which the worksheets have to be filed, I forget how many days it is, preceding the adoption of any pay plan amendment. Plus the Civil Service Commission would have to meet, hold their hearings before it could come back to us. And there's no way for it to meet the technical requirements that are needed for a pay plan amendment.
Okay, well, that's too bad. I think a lot of us wish we could have understood that earlier. I would like to try to do this to make sure that, you know, if the Budget and Finance Chair wants to do this, or whoever is the next person, I would be willing to sign a letter or sponsor with others and ask the Civil Service Commission for next year when they do this to try to adopt that approach. I don't know if we need to do that in the form of a letter or what, but obviously it's too late, so I'm not going to vote against them getting something, but it's just too bad we didn't know about this earlier.
Councilman Gatto.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. Mr. Jones, would it be possible to, in the budget, when we pass the budget later on this month, would it be possible to set aside a pot of money and then have the Civil Service Commission come back after the budget is passed and consider this and use that pot of money to fund additional? Because I agree with Councilman Crafton. I like what Doug said, and I would like to see us, you know, give the same amount to all the employees regardless of their level of pay. And is there any way we can do that? Can we pass a revised pay plan after the budget is set, if the money is set aside for that? And I realize that we would have to keep the budget balanced. We'd have to take money from some other places and do that. But is there a mechanism whereby we could do that?
The budget would be amendable to set aside a pay plan reserve number of whatever amount that you want to set aside for future amendments to the pay plan. If you're going to do that, you probably would want to defeat these and then let them come back later.
But if we did pass these, could we still come back and...
If you can find the money for it,
yes. We could still do it, because I don't want to hold up the raises that they're going to get under this. So then I guess my request would be that the Budget and Finance Committee look at this as a request that we determine what size this pot of money would have to be, and if it would be possible to set aside that amount to do a pay plan change after the budget's passed. Thank you. And I yield the rest of my time to Eric Crafton.
just so we can be safe, can we defer what we're trying to do with these resolutions until we can get the information that we need and get the other amendment drafted?
Right now, the motion is to defer.
Okay, the motion is to defer. Okay, so that'll work. Is that correct? We can be on track and do what we talked about?
If these are being deferred to run with the budget, at which time you'd have to consider what you put in the substitute budget. So
staff is going to tell us how much money we need to set aside and see if it's possible.
Yes.
Great.
Councilmember Wilhoit.
Yes, I stand in support of what Councilman Crafton has brought forward, has also what Mr. Doug Collier had come before us in reference to these legislations so they can be fair and equitable for all workers. So with that being said, I stand in support of the deferral to come forward with finding out what it's going to take in order to give everybody a fair, equitable raise. But we definitely want to make sure that that those employees that are deserving under these legislation, it does happen, because that needs to happen. So if it takes a deferral to do it, if the council members are in support of that, let that be the case. But if we can go forward and approve these, and of course come back and look at the money that could be set aside, let that be the case. But definitely trying to find something equitable for all employees is very important. Thank you.
Councilman Dominic.
Thank you. Quick question. Mr. Jones, would a one-time bonus require a pay plan change, or could that be done outside of that?
No, it would require a pay plan. All compensation for employees have to originate with the Civil Service Commission in the form of the pay plan.
Okay, just wanted to clarify that would require that, even if it's just a one-time grant rather than the actual full pay plan, but that does require that. Okay, thank you very much. I too stand in support of doing something so we address all of our employees, not just certain ones. They all have a bonus.
We have a motion and a second on the motion to defer on 1673, 1674, and 1675. All in favor of the deferral, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion to defer passes. RS 2011-1676 continues the additional compensation for the Davidson County Circuit Court Clerk in the amount of an amount equal to 10% of his base compensation pursuant to state law, and eliminates the additional compensation for the Davidson County Criminal Court Clerk. Councilmember Stein.
Committee reports.
Councilman Toller.
Personnel voted 7-4-0 against.
Councilmember Berry.
Budget and Finance voted to approve 10-4-0 against.
Councilman Stein.
I move approval with a comment.
Have a motion and a second. Councilman Stein.
This legislation is obviously in response to the budget presentation made by the criminal court clerk and the subsequent the preceding revelations about the conduct of that office. Many folks have been asking what council can do and can't do. Under state law, we were allowed in the early 2000s, 2003, and I believe again in 2006, to supplement the salaries of clerks that serve more than one court. There are 2 such clerks in Davidson County. We were allowed, and the council did in 2006, supplement the base salary set by the state by 10%. What this legislation does is for the criminal court clerk, it will reduce that salary by that 10% that we added on as essentially a bonus allowed under state law. And I would renew my motion for approval.
Councilman Tiger.
Thank you, and I wanted to follow up. Councilman Claiborne was right on point when we asked the question during the hearing as to whether the criminal court clerk would consider restitution for the non-work that was being performed, and we had a semi-positive we'll consider it. I want to commend Council Lady Berry, our chair of Budget and Finance, who promptly wrote the letter, and we've asked for a definitive answer from the criminal court clerk as to restitution by Monday, I believe. So thank you.
Councilmember Wilhoit.
I just want to stand and thank the two sponsors for bringing this legislation forward, to Councilman Stein and Councilman Tiger. This is just and right to do. I mean, considering the situation of what occurred, it's unfortunate that also the workers that are in that office has to deal with this type of negative, but it does not reflect on their hard work, and we appreciate all that they've done. I want to also thank Councilman Claiborne as well for planting the idea, and just want to say thank you to these legislators. Thank you.
We have a motion and a second for approval. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. Next is RS 2011-1677, approves an intergovernmental agreement between the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers and the Metro Police Department for use of extra-duty police officers. Councilmember Langster.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Committee reports, please.
Councilmember Berry.
Budget and Finance voted to approve 12-4, 0 against.
Councilman Foster.
Public Safety voted to approve 7-4, 0 against.
Councilmember Langster.
Move for approval, please.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. RS 2011-1678 approves an amendment to a lease agreement between the Metro Police Department and Signature Center LP for a lease of office space at 1900 Church Street for the Police Advocacy Support Services Division. Councilmember Langster.
Thank you. And committee reports, please.
Councilman Gatto.
Planning and Zoning approved 8-4, 0 against.
Councilmember Berry.
Budget and Finance voted to approve 12-4, 0 against.
Councilman Foster.
Public Safety voted to approve 7-4, 0 against.
Councilmember Langster.
Move for approval, please.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. RS 2011-1679 approves an intergovernmental agreement between the Metro Police Department and the City of Franklin for the distribution of state grant funds to assist with investigations of internet crimes against children. Councilmember Langster.
Committee reports, please.
Councilmember Berry.
Budget and Finance voted to approve 12-4, 0 against.
Councilman Foster.
Public Safety voted to approve 7-4, 0 against.
Councilmember Langster.
With all reports in, move for approval, please.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. RS 2011-1680 approves a grant from the Greenways for Nashville to the Metro Board of Parks and Recreation to provide funding for the salary and benefits for the Executive Coordinator of Greenways. Councilmember Maynard.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Committee reports, please.
Councilmember Berry.
Budget and Finance voted to approve 12-4, 0 against.
Councilmember Maynard.
Parks approved 6-4, 0 against. With that, I move approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. Without objection, we'll take 1681 and 1682 together. RS 2011-1681 approves an application for a grant from the Greater Nashville Regional Council to Metro Social Services Department for personal care and homemaker services. RS 2011-1682 approves an application for a federal pass-through grant from the Greater Nashville Regional Council to the Metro Social Services Department to provide meal delivery services to eligible seniors, caregiver meals, and congregate meal sites. Councilmember Berry.
Committee reports, please.
Councilman Forcom.
Health and Hospital vote approved 4-4, 0 against.
On both of them.
On both of them.
Thank you. Councilmember Berry.
Budget and Finance voted to approve 12-4, 0 against on both, and then with that, I move approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. RS 2011-1683 approves a contract between the Metro Board of Health and Fisk University to assure compliance with the project protocols and requirements for the Historically Black Community Colleges and Universities Wellness Project. Councilman Forcom.
Committee reports.
Councilmember Berry.
Budget and Finance voted to approve 12-4, 0 against.
Councilman Forcom.
Health and Hospital vote approved 4-4, 0 against. I move approval.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. RS 2011-1684 approves a business associate agreement between the Metro Board of Health and Fisk University to prevent the disclosure of protected health information. Councilman Forcom.
Committee reports.
Councilmember Berry.
Budget and Finance voted to approve 12-4, 0 against.
Councilman Forcom.
Health and Hospitals vote approved 4-4, 0 against. I move approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. RS 2011-1685 approves a contract between the Metro Board of Health and United Neighborhood Health Services to provide medical services to homeless clients of the Health Department. Councilmember Berry.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Committee reports.
Councilman Forcom.
Health and House Bills voted to approve 4-4, 0 against.
Councilman Berry.
Budget and Finance voted to approve 12-4-0 against. With that, I move approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. RS 2011-1686 approves an agreement between the Metro Board of Health and United Neighborhood Health Services, Incorporated, to prevent the disclosure of protected health information. Councilmember Berry.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Committee reports, please.
Councilman Forcom.
Health and House Bill voted to approve 4-4, 0 against.
Councilmember Berry.
Budget and Finance voted to approve 12-4-0 against. I move approval.
Councilman Crafton.
Thank you. I'm sorry I couldn't get done with work quick enough to make it to the committee meeting today, but I wanted to ask you, and this may be a question for Don, I'm not sure. With our IT department, do we not have the capability of providing safeguards for information ourselves at the health department? Why would we have to pay somebody else to do that?
This is kind of a specialized software programs that go into only health information. It's stuff like HIPAA required.
So we don't think that we're capable of operating that software?
We don't write that kind of software, and they don't license it except to certain folks to use that for HIPAA purposes.
Okay, thank you.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. 1686 passes. RS 2011-1687 approves a contract between the Metro Board of Health and Critical Learning Systems, Incorporated, to provide consultation, technical assistance, and guidance regarding health equity for the Communities Putting Prevention to Work grant. Councilmember Forcom.
Committee reports.
Councilmember Berry.
Budget and Finance voted to approve 12-4-0 against.
Councilmember Forcom.
Health and House Bill voted to approve 4-4, 0 against, and I move approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. 1687 passes. RS 2011-1688 approves a business associate agreement between the Metro Board of Health and Critical Learning Systems, Incorporated, to prevent the use or disclosure of protected health information. Councilman Forcom.
Committee reports.
Councilmember Berry.
Budget and Finance voted to approve 12-4-0 against.
Councilman Forcom.
Health and House Bills voted to approve 4-4, 0 against, and I move approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. RS 2011-1689 approves an amendment to a contract between the Metro Board of Health and the Matthew Walker Comprehensive Health Center to provide behavioral health evaluations for all new Healthy Start program participants. Councilmember Berry.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Committee reports, please.
Councilman Forcom.
Health and House Bills voted to approve 4-4, 0 against.
Councilmember Berry.
Budget and Finance voted to approve 12-4-0 against, and I move approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. RS 2011-1690 approves a state grant to the Metro Board of Health for tuberculosis control and outreach and prevention services. Councilmember Berry.
It's like Groundhog Day. Committee reports, please.
Councilman Forcom.
I don't know how to answer that one. Health and House Bills voted to approve 4-4, 0 against.
Councilmember Berry.
Budget and Finance voted to approve 12-4-0 against, and I move approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. RS 2011-1691 approves an amendment to a contract between the Metro Board of Health and the Matthew Walker Comprehensive Health Center for a mobile clinic to provide early periodic screening, diagnosis, and treatment exams. Councilman Forcom.
Committee report.
Councilmember Berry.
Budget and Finance voted to approve 12-4-0 against.
Councilman Forcom.
Health and House Bills voted to approve 4-4, 0 against, and I move approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. RS 2011-1692 approves an amendment to a contract between Hands On Nashville to the Metro Board of Health to coordinate the training of community volunteers for preparedness activities. Councilmember Berry.
Committee reports, please.
Councilman Forcom.
Health and Hospitals, vote approved, 4-4, 0 against.
Councilmember Berry.
Budget and Finance voted to approve 12-4, 0 against. I move approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. RS 2011-1693 approves an amendment to a state grant to the Metro Board of Health for the Commodity Supplemental Food Program. Councilmember Berry.
Committee reports, please.
Councilman Forcom.
Health and Hospitals, vote approved, 4-4, 0 against.
Councilmember Berry.
In a crazy move, Budget and Finance voted to approve 12-4, 0 against. I move approval.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. RS 2011-1694 approves an amendment to a federal grant to the Metro Board of Health to achieve established ambient air quality standards. Councilman Forcom.
Committee reports.
Councilmember Berry.
Budget and Finance voted to approve 12-4, 0 against.
Councilman Forcom.
Health and Hospitals, vote approved, 4-4, 0 against. I move approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. RS 2011-1695 approves a state grant to the Metro Health Department to provide school-based oral disease prevention services to those children who qualify for TennCare. Councilman Forcom.
Committee reports.
Councilmember Berry.
Budget and Finance voted to approve 12-4, 0 against.
Councilman Forcom.
Health, Hospitals, and Social Services, vote approved, 4-4, 0 against. I move approval. I knew it was getting to be
trying to shake it up. Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. RS 2011-1696 approves the state grant to the Metro Health Department for tobacco use prevention services through billboard advertising. Councilman Forcom.
Committee reports.
Councilmember Berry.
Budget and Finance voted to approve 12-4, 0 against.
Councilman Forcom.
Health and Hospitals, vote approved, 4-4, 0 against, and I move approval.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. RS 2011-1697 approves an annual state grant to the Metro Health Department for health promotion programs. Councilman Forcom.
Committee reports.
Councilmember Berry.
Budget and Finance, 12-4, 0 against.
Councilman Forcom.
Health and Hospitals, vote approved, 4-4, 0 against. I move approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. RS 2011-1698 approves an annual state grant to the Metro Board of Health to enhance the health and well-being of women, infants, and families. Councilmember Berry.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Committee reports.
Councilman Forcom.
Health and Hospitals, voted approved, 4-4, 0 against.
Councilmember Berry.
Budget and Finance voted to approve 12-4 and 0 against. I move approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. RS 2011-1699 approves a state grant to the Metro Board of Health to provide care coordination services for the Children's Special Services Program. Councilman Forcom.
Committee reports.
Councilmember Berry.
Budget and Finance voted to approve 12-4, 0 against.
Councilman Forcom.
Health and Hospital, vote approved, 4-4, 0 against. I move approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. RS 2011-1700 approves an amendment to an annual state grant to the Metro Board of Health to provide care coordination services for the Children's Special Services Program. Councilman Forcom.
Committee reports.
Councilmember Berry.
Budget and Finance voted to approve 12-4, 0 against.
Councilman Forcom.
Health and Hospitals, vote approved, 4-4, 0 against. I move approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. RS 2011-1701 approves an amendment to a contract between the Metro Board of Health and Vanderbilt University to participate in Tuberculosis Trials Consortium. Councilman Forcom.
Committee reports.
Councilmember Berry.
Budget and Finance voted to approve 12-4, 0 against.
Councilman Forcom.
Health and Hospitals, vote approved, 4-4, 0 against. I move approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. RS 2011-1702 approves an amendment to a grant from Vanderbilt University to the Metro Board of Parks and Recreations to collaborate on the Growing Right Onto Wellness project. Councilmember Berry.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Committee reports, please.
Councilman Maynard.
Parks approved 6-4-0 against.
Councilmember Berry.
Budget and Finance voted to approve 12-4-0 against. I move approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. RS 2011-1703 approves an amendment to a contract between Metro Government and the City of Laverne for the acceptance and treatment of sewage flow from Laverne Sewage Collection System. Councilmember Hodge.
Committee reports.
Councilmember Berry.
Budget and Finance voted to approve 12-4-0 against.
Councilmember Hodge.
Public Works voted to approve 5-4-0 against. I move approval.
Second. Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. RS 2011-1704 approves a license agreement with the State Department of Transportation and the Metro Public Works Department for streetscape improvements for the I-40 exit ramp at 28th Avenue North and Jefferson Street. Councilmember Hodge.
Committee reports.
Councilmember Berry.
Budget and Finance voted to approve 12-4-0 against.
Councilmember Hodge.
Public Works voted to approve 5-4-0 against. Move approval.
Second. Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. We're now at bills on introduction and first reading, and we have two late filed zoning bills, Councilmember Langster and Councilmember Foster. Tonight is the deadline for accepting zoning bills for the next public hearing. Is there any objection? Seeing none, the first one is Councilmember Langster changes 3.06 acres from IR to MUI district for property located at 28th Avenue North. Councilmember Langster.
Committee report, please.
It's on introduction, first reading. So
Move for its approval, please.
we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes.
Committee report.
Councilman Foster amends the Barbecuity Commercial Plan Unit Development Overlay for 1.77 acres located at 5207 Nolensville Pike, classified CS. Councilman Foster.
Move approval, please.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. Is there a motion to approve all other bills on introduction? Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. Next, we're at bills on second reading. BL 2011-858 amends the Metro Code to modify requirements applicable to home occupations. Councilman Jameson.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Committee report.
Councilman Gatto.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. At the request of the sponsor, Councilman Mike Jameson, Planning and Zoning voted to withdraw this bill by a vote of 8-4-0 against.
Councilman Jameson.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. A revised version was submitted a week before last, making this version obsolete, so we're withdrawing it.
We have a motion and a second to withdraw. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2011-912 amends the Metro Code establishing an Office of Administrative Hearing Officer. Councilman Tigert.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Committee reports, please.
Councilmember Berry.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. The Budget and Finance Committee voted to approve 12-4-0 against as substituted.
Councilmember Wilhoit.
Yes, the Codes, Fair, and Farmers Market Committee proudly voted 5-4-0 against as substituted.
Thank you. Councilman Tigert.
I would move the substitute.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion on the substitute.
I need, based on Mr. Cooper's advice, Madam Chair, I need to make a few comments to clarify the substitute. First of all, this ordinance creates two administrative hearing officer positions in accordance with the state enabling legislation. The purpose of the ordinance is to create a new tool in our toolbox to assist the Codes Department in addressing the most serious codes violations. The administrative hearing officer would hear codes violations that are considered the worst of the worst, as well as repeat offenders who continue to commit new codes violations even after going through the environmental court process a number of times. This ordinance would also allow citations to be issued to absentee property owners served by certified mail sent to the last known address of the property instead of being delivered in person. The administrative hearing officer will review the alleged violation and can levy a fine in an amount not to exceed $500 per violation for violations on residential properties and $500 per violation per day on commercial properties. The substitute also removes a previous condition that either party could hear this in the before the administrative hearing office. The codes director was concerned that this would place too big a financial and time burden on the codes department, so it has removed this option and allows Metro to assign the cases here. And finally, the substitute ordinance does include a process to allow the vice mayor to make recommendations to the council regarding the persons to serve through the appointment of an advisory commission. These changes have also allowed the director of finance to certify the availability of funds. So district council members, if you're tired of having those repeat offenders flaunt the system and ignore violations and stall the system, then this bill will give us a tool to put some teeth in, and I am appreciative of the co-sponsors, and I'm appreciative of the state legislature for giving us this opportunity to address the most serious of the serious.
We have a motion and a second on the substitute. Councilman Foster.
Just a quick question for Mr. Jones. Can you tell me what's the appellate process from a decision of this officer?
This is the same as it would be from Sessions Court. You appeal it to the circuit courts.
Thank
you. Get a trial de novo.
Councilmember Wilhoit.
Yes, as a district council member, I'm very much, and also as chair of codes, but I just have to say I thank Councilmember Jameson for coming to me and talk with me about this legislation to give me some details about it. I think it's absolutely great. I do appreciate the state of Tennessee legislators for giving us the type of I guess you would say, the component we were needing to deal with these repeated offenders. You know, as a district council person, we constantly are dealing with the beat down of trying to get a violation in compliance, and then the person goes back and do it over and over and over again. Finally, this is something that the state of Tennessee legislators gave us the opportunity to be able to actually have some type of substance to bring about enforcement against these repeated violators. I'm so very glad to be a sponsor of this legislation, and I thank you very much. And I join with Councilman Tiger and other co-sponsors as being a sponsor of this, and thank you so very much for bringing this forward. It is a needed and necessary legislation. Thank you.
We have a motion and a second on the substitute. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Substitute passes. Councilman Tiger.
I would move the bill on second reading as substituted.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2011-914 adopts the property tax levy for the metropolitan government for fiscal year 2011-2012. Councilmember Berry.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Committee report. So that would be me. Okay, we approved. And we referred back to Budget and Finance 12-4-0 against, and I would like to move approval.
We have a motion and a second to approve and re-refer back to Budget and Finance. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2011-916 amends the Metro Code provisions regarding the regulation of valet parking services. Councilmember Stein.
Committee reports.
Councilmember Berry.
Budget and Finance voted to approve 12-4-0 against.
Councilman Atkins.
Traffic and Parking deferred one meeting.
Councilman Stein.
I would move a one-meeting deferral pending the Traffic and Parking Commission approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor of a one-meeting deferral, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2011-917 deletes ordinance number BL 2007-1460 in its entirety and transfers the employees of the Homelessness Commission to the Department of Social Services. Councilmember Berry.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Committee reports, please.
Councilman Toler.
Personnel voted 7-4, 0 against.
Councilman Forcom.
Health and Hospitals voted approved 4-4, 0 against.
Councilmember Berry.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. With that, I would move approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2011-918 amends the Metro Code to create a Metro Community Garden Commission. Councilmember Matthews.
Committee reports, please.
Councilmember Wilhoit.
Codes, Fair, and Farmers Market Committee move to defer this by request of the sponsor, one meeting.
Councilmember Gatto.
I failed to say 5-4 and 0 against.
Okay. Thank you. Councilman Gatto.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. Planning and Zoning move to defer one meeting, 8-4-0 against.
Councilmember Maynard.
Parks deferred one meeting by 6-4-0 against.
Councilman Forcom.
Health and Hospitals voted to defer one meeting at request of sponsor 4-4-0 against.
Thank you. Councilmember Matthews.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. I'm actually going to defer this for 2 meetings. So I'll move to defer for 2 meetings with a brief explanation, please.
We have a motion and a second. Councilman?
Yes. I brought forward this piece of legislation in response to a situation that occurred with the George Washington Carver Community Garden, but also with the increased interest in doing community gardening in my district and several other areas that I know about. After bringing forth this legislation, there have been several departments and organizations that have come together, namely the Food Policy Council, the Health Department, the Farmers Market, representatives from community food advocates that have all come together, and we're discussing some of the intent of this legislation. We're also discussing how this may fit in with the open space plan that the mayor has introduced and recommended. So I want to defer this for 2 meetings, which will actually set it to bring it back the second meeting in July to really give us time to discuss this and see if we can be able to address some of the issues that were brought up with this piece of legislation with working with some of the groups that we already have in place. So with that, I'll renew my motion to defer for 2 meetings.
The motion is for a 2-meeting deferral. Is there a discussion on the deferral motion? Councilmember Wilhoit.
Yes, Vice Mayor. In our meeting of the Coast Fair and Farmers Market Committee, it was brought up by Councilmember Garrett that the 2 meeting, which was requested by the sponsor, and this was only done to assist the sponsor, it was brought up that the second meeting would in fact not give him enough time for the 3rd meeting in order to get this passed, because election would be upon us. We would not be meeting at a certain time in August. I don't know the specifics, Vice Mayor, but I'm believing that the sponsor would actually miss the opportunity to get this passed if that is his objective.
I believe we have 2 more meetings in this month. 1 more, right. And then we have the adjourned meeting. Sponsor?
Well, I will draw my motion to defer. I'll ask for approval on second, and I'll defer at the next meeting in June.
Second.
Well, could I?
It'll still be a one.
Would I have to approve by?
Hang on.
Yes.
Just a second, please.
You need to defer one meeting.
Councilman Gatto.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. I believe in Councilman Matthews' motion, he specifically said to the second meeting in July. So I think if that's when he wants this bill to be heard, I think his motion will take care of that. And I would ask Mr. Jones if that's a proper interpretation.
Yes, I agree. That's
So your motion is to defer until... It's not a two-meeting deferral, it's a motion to defer.
To the second meeting in July.
Okay. The motion is to defer to the second meeting in July.
Yes.
Is there a second? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The motion to defer to the second meeting in July passes. Next is BL 2011-919, authorizes the Director of Public Property Administration to accept the donation of 11.07 acres of the property in the Antioch area from the Bells Becker, Louis Schleckner properties for the construction of the Cane Ridge Elementary School. Councilmember Coleman.
Committee report.
Councilmember Berry.
Committee reports, please. I am the committee, and we've approved it all. And so with that in mind, I would like to move approval.
No, ma'am. You were giving a committee report on 2011-919.
Okay. 919?
919. Sponsor is Councilman Coleman.
You can be the sponsor.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. And as soon as I get it, I will be there too. I'm sorry I didn't have it written on my sheet. Yeah, what happens when I talk to Councilmember Garrett. Okay, we approve 12-4-0 against. Thank you.
Councilmember Gatto.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. Planning, and let me see if I can get this right now. Planning and zoning approved 8-4-0 against.
Councilmember Gilmore.
Education approved 7-4-0 against.
Councilmember Coleman.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Move for passage and hope to give a brief explanation.
We have a motion and a second. Councilmember.
Thank you. I want to really thank the neighbors of Summersville subdivision. They made a great sacrifice in terms of the traffic that will be coming through their neighborhood. Of course, we're all appreciative of another elementary school coming in the Antioch area, but particularly those neighbors that live in a subdivision of Summersville. They really made a grown-up decision and decided to support this idea, and for that, we appreciate them. Thank you.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. 919 passes. Next, bills on third reading, BL 2010-825 amends the Metro Code to provide for free parking for vehicle owners that purchase carbon offsets. Councilman Tiger.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I believe I need to ask for a suspension of the rules to consider a substitute.
Is there any objection? Seeing none, Councilman.
I would move the substitute, which includes some provisions that the Mayor's Office of Sustainability asked that we include in the bill.
And those are in our packet?
Those are in the packet.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second on the substitute? Second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the substitute, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Substitute passes. Councilman?
I would move the bill on third reading as substituted.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2011-895 changes 182.38 acres from R10 to RS10 zoning for various properties located along Bel Air Drive, Catalina Drive, Cornett Drive, Curry Road, McGavock Pike, and Vinson Drive. Councilmember Dominy.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I move for one meeting deferral.
Second. Have a motion and a second.
We had a request to opt out come in last night, and I want to add all that to the amendment. We'll offer one amendment to remove those parcels that we've agreed to opt out at the same time. So.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for a one meeting deferral. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2011-901 amends the Metro Zoning Code to create a new land use called single-family cottage development in all two-family residential zoning districts and to make technical change to Chapter 17.40 pertaining to variances. Councilmember Cole.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. I think with all committees reporting in, I would like to move to defer to the second meeting in July with a brief explanation.
Have a motion and a second. Councilmember Call.
Thank you. Really briefly, we talked about this last meeting, and we had a public meeting last week at the Planning Commission, a working meeting on the legislation. Appreciate the folks that came out. We're winning converts one person at a time to the need for this legislation, but we do need to track the bill with 923 that was on first reading tonight, and that will be in front of the July 5th public hearing, so it'll be another opportunity for a public comment period about the cottage concept. I would direct council members as well as constituents to the Planning Department website where they've put notes of our meeting of last week, as well as the legislation as proposed, and we're going to continue to work on the bill and have changes before you in July. So I would renew my motion. Thank you, Vice Mayor.
We have a motion and a second to defer to the second meeting in July. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2011-903 amends the Metro Code to require written notification to property owners when their property is included in a floodway or floodplain for the first time. Councilman Coleman.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Nabis. All committee reports are in. I move to defer one meeting and give a brief explanation.
We have a motion and a second. Councilman.
Right. Ms. Ann Hammonds, would you please give us the reason why this should be deferred for one meeting?
Council members, this bill needs a minor housekeeping amendment. It would do two things: clarify that the property owners notified will have their addresses based on the tax assessor's rolls at the time of the mailing, and secondly, to note that the mailings are informational only and does not create a potential liability for Metro. So with a one meeting deferral, those will be completed and before you next time.
Thank you. Having said that, Vice Mayor, that stands to reason, and I renew my motion for 1 week deferral.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2011-904 approves the transfer of a telecommunications franchise from DukeNet Communications, LLC to DukeNet OpCo, LLC. Councilmember Berry.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. With all committee reports in, I move approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2011-905 approves an agreement between Metro Government, Tennessee State University, Meharry Medical College, and Jefferson Street United Merchants Partnership for the maintenance of the streetscape improvements along I-40 at Jefferson Street and 28th Avenue North. Councilmember Langster.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. This legislation's been a long time coming, and I proudly move passage on third and final consideration.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2011-906 readopts the Metro Code to include supplemental and replacement pages containing certain ordinances adopted on or before December 21st, 2010. Councilmember Adkins.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I move approval with a brief explanation.
Have a motion and a second. Councilmember.
This is just a normal course of business for us to readopt the Metro Code for the supplement and replacement pages. Thank you.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2011-908 accepts a donation of 100 bicycles from Regions Financial Corporation to the Metro Board of Health for the purpose of promoting active living. Councilman Forcum.
Okay, all committee reports in, approved, and I move approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2011-909 authorizes the acquisition of 2 utility easements for the Whites Creek Water Main Project. Councilmember Hunt.
Thank you, Madam President. With all reports being in, I move for approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2011 910 authorizes the acquisition of right-of-way easements for sidewalk improvements on Abbott Martin Drive and Valdale Drive to Cross Creek Road. Councilmember Berry.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. All committee reports are in. I move approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2011-911 authorizes the acquisition of right-of-way easements for sidewalk improvements on Harding Place at Timber Hill Drive to Danby Drive. Councilman Hodge.
Move approval with a comment.
Second. I have a motion and a second. Councilmember.
I believe Councilman Atkins wants to speak on this. This has been a prime effort of his, and for all those in both our districts who have expressed concern for the folks walking along the narrow edge of Harding Place, dodging between the vehicles. It's been a long time coming, but this is the first step.
Councilmember Atkins.
Thank you, Councilman, for handling this for me. I just want to say we've been working on this project ever since I was elected about 8 years ago. This is part of a TDOT grant and a federal government grant and TDOT along with the city match, and it's really, really important to the community. And it's phase one of the project that's actually getting a sidewalk, and I'm just very, very proud to that this is happening in the community, and I think everybody in the city is proud. This is one of the busiest roads in Nashville, and the intersections where this is near are some of the busiest as well. This will be a great safety improvement for District 26, along with the districts right around us. Thank you very much.
Councilmember Gatto. Councilman Gatto, did you wish to speak?
No.
Okay. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2011-915 approves the lease agreement between Metro Government and the Center for Charter School Excellence in Tennessee for use of property at 217 South 10th Street. Councilmember Jamison.
Having been approved by all committees, I move approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. RS 2011-1620 requests the Metro Board of Public Education to either create additional academic magnet schools or to abolish the academic magnets program altogether. Councilman Crafton.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Committee report.
Councilmember Gilmore.
The Education Committee approved 7 and 0 with the substitute.
I move approval as substituted with an explanation.
Is there any objection to a suspension of the rules to consider the substitute?
Why is there a suspension of the rules? I mean, I submitted this in plenty of time, and we discussed it at the council at the meeting.
It was not distributed at noon on Monday.
Okay.
If there is no objection to a suspension of the rules, so there is a motion for approval of the substitute and a second. All in favor of the Councilman?
I wanted to make a comment, if I may.
Go right ahead.
Since I did some research. I want us to all be aware of this fact and why I'm doing this, and I'm proud to say that I think most everybody will support this. I had wanted to participate, and I applied for my daughter to go to Meg's Magnet School because I know it's got a good reputation, and I wanted to support that. Well, I think she was number 299 on the list, alternate, so obviously she wasn't going to make it. So I decided to do a little research to find out exactly how many qualified children applied and how many slots were actually available for Meg's, Hume, Fogg, and MLK. It turned out that there were 2,500 eligible qualified students applying for 618 slots. Now, if you do the quick math, that's 24.7% of the students get accepted. So basically, we're turning away 75% of the students. Now, the parents are consumers. The taxpayers are consumers. They're telling us what works, and what works is academic magnets. The statistics bear that out. The average ACT score at Hume, Fogg, and MLK is 26.5, whereas the average ACT score at other high schools is around 16 to 17, somewhere in that range. A 17 doesn't get you in anywhere, nowhere. You're not qualified to get the Hope Scholarship. The only reason I've been told that we don't want to expand the magnet schools into each quadrant of the county is simply because if we do that, the test scores will go down a little bit more in those schools because we've moved some of the better students out. But to me, that's not a good enough reason. You're basically penalizing children because they weren't lucky enough to win the Metro Powerball. Okay, so you're relegating them to a different type education experience. It doesn't cost any more. In fact, it costs less for magnet schools. We already have the schools there. You're not required to provide transportation. And quite frankly, it costs less to educate a student in magnet school because you don't have 2 or 3 teachers in the room. You don't have special requirements. So that would leave more money to help the children that really need it in the form of tutoring, lower student-to-teacher ratios. So I think it's time that the school board address this. You know, we're recommending we approve the budget, but I think we have the right to recommend. I've gotten probably, I'd say 50 calls on this in the past couple of weeks. That's quite a few on a memorializing resolution, and they all say, yeah, you know, that makes sense. I would like to be able to, for example, make Bellevue Middle School a magnet school, take my child there instead of having to drive across town or lose the lottery. The other reason why this is important, we know this has a proven record of success. You got 2,000 children that didn't make the cut, didn't get the drawing. Well, guess what they've done? They put their children in private schools, which takes money out of the public school system, or they've decided to go to another county. Education, a good education system, in my opinion, and the statistics bear this out, is the most important economic success driver, period. Companies relocate here because you have a good education system. People relocate and buy homes here. It drives real estate prices up. Davidson County's growth has been basically flat probably the past 8 to 10 years, while other surrounding counties are experiencing a boom in growth. And I just think that if we don't address this education problem and give the people what they want, i.e. the parents and the students, then we're failing. We don't need any more boutique magnets. We need academic magnets because academics is what gets you into college where you can go on to succeed, not boutiques, not easy bake oven magnets, not finger painting magnets. It's reading, writing, arithmetic, and all of those don't start with R's. Only one of them. So we need to teach the basics, and I hope that we can support this, and I hope the school board will listen for a change. Thank you.
We have a motion and a second on the substitute. Councilmember Maynard.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I may support more magnet schools, but I cannot vote for this because of I object to some of the language in the resolutions. I'll be voting no.
Councilmember Berry.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. You know, while I appreciate what Councilman Crafton is trying to do, because I do believe that what this community does when we educate our children is the most important thing we do, I'm not sure it's practical to demand that we have magnet schools in every high school cluster. I think what we should be asking the school board for is more enhanced academic opportunities if they are IB programs, if they are AP courses, whatever that looks like. Magnet schools are absolutely important for academic magnets. I would highly encourage the school board to continue to look for more opportunities to better our education, and academic magnets are absolutely one of those tools. But with, as with Councilman Maynard, I find it hard to support something that actually says that we have to have something in a cluster when it may not be supported. Thank you.
We have a motion and a second on the substitute. All in favor of the substitute, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. No. Substitute passes. Councilman Crafton. We have a motion and a second on the bill as substituted. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. No. Motion passes. Next is RS You need a machine vote? I'm sorry. We will need a machine vote on the bill as substituted. My bad. Madam Clerk.
Ayes 26, noes 6, 4 abstentions.
Motion passes. RS 2011-1705 requests the Davidson County delegation to allow Metro government to provide an opportunity for local bidders to match the lowest bid in the award procurement contracts, as well as to include price as a factor in awarding professional contracts. Councilman Crafton.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Talked with a couple of interested parties at the 11th hour.
Councilmember Berry.
Committee report.
Committee report.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. The committee voted to defer 12-4, 0 against.
Councilman Crafton.
Defer one meeting.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. Remember, we are adjourned until June the 14th at 6 p.m.